You know, just in general, not about the topic itself.
Yeah, I think I can muddle my way through a brief explanation.
Okay. All right, well, you are good to go. We are live streaming and you got a quorum.
Okay, let's change that. We will call this meeting to order at 6:09. And you've got all your visitors taken care of?
Yes.
Okay. First item up is approval of agenda. I will entertain a motion.
Rutland County make a motion to approve.
Will second.
Any changes? Any additions? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Next up, secretary's report. I believe that was in your board packet. I will entertain a motion to approve.
Rutland County will make a motion.
Chittenden County seconds.
Any questions, corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Treasurer's report, Patty?
Okay. So the data is through the end of June, which is 9 months of the season, budget season, or 75%. So income, again, just rounding numbers. The budget is 3.3 million. This monthly activity, as expected, is very small. It's about 24K, of which 15K came from contract services, the SSTP stuff. Income to season is 3.1, almost 3.2 million. So we're shy about 130K of the budget expectations, but we still have some more grant money coming in through the next couple months. So overall income is at 96% of the budget expectations. And last year we were also at 96% of budget expectations. So we're right on par there as far as income is concerned. As far as expenses, the budget's 2.7. Monthly activity was again small, about 112K. 23,000 of that came from grooming, 10K in trail signage, and another big one was about 11K for the trails fund and the general fund audit that occurred at VAS level. So expenses to date is 1.9, and we have about 867K left in the expense budget. So last year we were at 75% in the June timeframe, and currently we are at 69% of our expense budget.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Wyndham County moves to accept the treasurer's report.
And a second.
Washington County will second that.
Any questions or discussion? I don't see any hands, don't hear anybody screaming.
Not a lot of activity this month, so.
All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Who seconded that motion?
Washington.
Washington County.
Oh, thank you.
We have no tabled items. We don't even know what the consent calendar is. We can cross that right off. No old business. So that brings us to new business. So the grievance process is basically a process where a club can come before the board if they don't agree with a decision that was handed down by a lot of times it's just Matt. So there is a process. If a club is unhappy, they can ask to come before the board. I believe the process is that they go to the county first and then come to the board. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. But it's a fairly simple process. So with that brief explanation, we'll hop right into item 9A, Thunder Chickens, denied grant.
I presenting the Thunder Chickens denied grant to the board tonight from Washington County. The reason why this is being presented, and I believe the reason it was refused, was because it was it's a justified project, I believe, but it was very late coming in, almost 2 weeks, I believe. I got to look at the exact dates, but late coming into Matt, and so that, I guess, was the main reason it was rejected. And I've been asked to present it to the group of directors. Now I'm willing to rescind my vote if y'all feel like I should be doing that as far as Washington goes on the vote for this. You guys let me know how you feel about that, and I'll let Matt, or I'm sorry, I'll let the Steve take over. He's down at the VAST office with our vice president, and they can take it from here.
I think Dave Rulo wanted to speak, right, Dave?
I guess I did, Mark. Yeah, I'm just learning the process myself too. So it sounds like we were a little bit late getting the request in, and I think some of that was attributed to Steve Malnati putting it together. Came down with COVID. He was down and out for quite a bit during that, and I think that's the base of it. And I think the other hesitation is we didn't have exact prices on the tracks, or what it was going to cost. So getting those in, but in result we were a little bit late. We got denied, and so the process is to come against you guys with a grievance. So I think what I would just like to say is we are running a 2010 Tucker Cat. So we've tried to take very good care of it over the years, much like other clubs do, so that we don't have to come after VAST for equipment grants and stuff like that. So we try to be very diligent with VAST money when we're doing any club project, trail projects, equipment grants, all that type of stuff. So just by kind of going through the process, I understand the lateness of it, but we'd certainly like to be reconsidered to see if we can get back in the mix, to be considered to get some financial help with replacing tracks on our machine. This last season, we actually had 2 different breakdowns. So we got a used one from Jesse Lambert out in Washington, and then we drove down to southern Vermont, and we got another donated one from another club to get us up and running, so we could take care of the VAST members in our area. So we were limping. We were very concerned about going out, getting our existing tracks to work. Much in need of new tracks, and appreciate any reconsidering you guys would do.
Any questions? Any discussion? Anybody want to offer up any other information?
I
Kurt,
think Kurt had a question, Jeff.
go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, what are you guys looking for a grant? How much are we talking about, Dave?
Steve or Matt, could you guys speak to that? I wasn't directly involved in the process. Those two would know better.
Go ahead, Matt, if you have the packet there.
Yeah, the quote from Track Inc. was 16,526.16. So it'd be the grant they'd be eligible for would be 50% of that. So that would be $8,270 roughly.
Yep.
I think.
Is that for 2 tracks or 4?
That's for 2.
Yeah, okay.
We're just trying to do it a little at a time. Figured we'd do 2 this year and 2 next year. Just to, take the pressure off the club financially and VAST at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, they just keep going up.
Yeah. And they are still not available right now. He's just barely starting to get his orders in. From a year ago, March, his order went in. And so that's why we weren't able to get one throughout the winter on an emergency grant or anything like that, because there are absolutely are none available.
Okay,
Patty, you had a question?
Yeah, just a quick question, and you might have said this, whoever gave the overview. Did anybody call Matt before the deadline to let them know they would be late?
No, I did not. I was recovering and just trying to get back to work and go day to day, and I kind of lost track of the days is what actually happened. And I missed the deadline completely. I've been part of the Thunder Chickens for 22 years. I've been doing trail grants, vast grants, all the grants for the club. And I've never had to come in front of this board before to ask anything like this. It's not a regular thing for us. We like to be on time and in the process properly, and this slipped through the cracks this year, and I apologize for it happening, but it's just something that did happen.
Matt, may I ask, oh, I'm sorry, Kurt.
it's okay.
Matt, may I ask how much past the deadline they were? Approximately, sorry, or anybody?
Just over a week, I believe.
Yeah, they submitted the grant on 6/17.
But had I talked to you prior to that and trying to get pictures and stuff, Matt, do you?
Yeah, it was roughly like a week or something after
Okay.
the deadline, week or two.
And I was having trouble downloading the pictures and getting them to you. So. it
Mike
started
Burns
out-
has his hand up.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the board that about 3 seasons ago, you didn't hesitate to lecture myself and one of my clubs about how important deadlines were when you refused our final payment. And that really hurt that club to the point that it cost me some memberships. And the board absolutely turned us down, saying that deadlines were deadlines and that's what they're there for.
Oh, this is Doug Jacobs from Windsor County. Can anybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, I have a question. Sorry, I couldn't put my hand up. I'm on my cell phone. But what does the budget look like? Is I haven't seen anything on the budget say it was denied. Is there any funds available to do this, or is all the money already spoken for and allocated?
There's some funds to help them with this, yes, in the budget, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I was just wondering. Thanks.
What does the club have for funds?
That was the next question.
Right now in our account, we have about $11,000. We do have about $5,000 a year in known expenses like the insurance, taxes, that type of stuff. Fuel is not included in that, or plowing or other, maintenance that comes up on the stuff. So about $11,000 right now.
Is that your total balance, Dave? You don't have emergency funds, no backup beyond that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd also be curious, Mike Burns just kind of made a comment about 2 years ago, his club was turned down. I'd like to know what the circumstances around their denial was.
Yes, I would like a refresher on that too, please. Mike.
I'm happy to refresh if Mike doesn't want to. I remember it was.
Yeah, we had a club that was a couple of weeks late on their final payment. It was a club here that basically man and his wife basically did everything within the club. They also run a business that has the advantage of taking care of our groomers and stuff. So they were pretty instrumental to us. They were late. They knew they were late, but they submitted it anyway. Like I said, they were about 2 weeks late. They were refused. Matt had refused them, so they'd asked me to just bring it up at the board. And I did bring it up the board, and that's when the board, clearly defined that the deadlines were there for a reason, and we were refused.
Did that prevent you guys from getting on snow?
Sorry?
Did it prevent them from getting on snow? and getting out.
It was the it was final payment, end of season. And
Okay.
the club absorbed they absorbed the cost.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It's a tough one. I mean, right now, I mean, you guys are running on, I mean, Dave, the tracks that you guys got to do your emergency repairs, where they use tracks. So they're basically on their leg, you know, they're at some point in their last
Are
legs.
they used tracks, the ones that you got?
We are, 3 of our tracks are original tracks, and the one that broke down is a used track that we got from another club, and they are weather cracked. I would seriously think that we probably wouldn't make the whole year on what we have. We'd be willing to run with it if we have to, but if the track breaks in the middle of the year, we're probably going to be done grooming for the season.
Yeah, and how many miles do you guys groom that unit, Steve?
40.
40?
Yeah.
Oh.
And if they're having trouble getting track, probably won't have them in inventory in February.
He said to me that he was starting to receive tracks. That was 2-3 weeks ago. I talked to him up there, and they're starting to trickle in a little at a time. The problem was the price of fuel. He didn't want to drive all the way down to New York for tracks unless he was bringing home a full truckload of tracks, because it wasn't worth his time and money. And then if he didn't come home with a full load of tracks, the prices of the tracks were going to go up to offset the fuel cost.
Yeah.
So they are coming in. The problem was Tucker Cat themselves was using all the 200-inch tracks for their new builds, and they weren't allowing anybody else to have them. And now they're done building the 200-inch tracks. They've gone back to building the 175s, and they're starting to allow the tracks to go out to the dealers now.
Jeff,
That is my understanding.
Jeff, you had your hand up?
Yes, thanks, guys. Again, I'm presenting this, so I'm, the facts are the facts. I have pictures, and Matt has pictures of the actual project, and I would tell you that that's a major area. That's one that I'm immensely in. It's a heavy traffic area, and I don't think they're going to go very long on the tracks that I've got pictures of. Now, that being said, we all went through the COVID, and we're all making exceptions in our lives, and there was a lot of stuff for setbacks, and we're making a lot of exceptions for COVID. And I understand the whole due date thing, and I'm very serious about the due date things, because we have those dates are there for a reason, so we can all get our jobs done and move forward with things. But I would like to just, again, I think it's a reasonable ask. This club has never been in front of us before with all the projects that they've asked for. And we have been making many, many exceptions for COVID, and I think it's reasonable. And that's all I want to say.
My last 2 cents. I feel that, based on supply and availability, number one, if that track is available at the beginning of the season, that we should allow this grant. I know it's tough with, it's a tough one. And I get, Mike, we blocked it a few years ago, but if it comes down to they spit that track out, they can't get one for a couple months, then we've got the whole mid part of the state that's not getting groomed. That's my 2 cents. So I would say that yes, that would be my vote.
Jeff, you see that you have Roger and Carmen that both have their hands up.
Yeah, I see Carmen. Go ahead, Carmen.
Roger can go first. I think he had his hand up first.
Okay, Roger.
What's the past precedence on this? Because it hasn't happened since I've been around. And 2, what do we do if you get approached by a club, say mid-season or fall, when they notice they need to do some sort of capital repairs? Have we ever given them any sort of emergency funding at that point?
We've given clubs some funding in the fall, or even like midwinter on occasion. We usually have like $25,000 set aside for emergency breakdowns. So we usually use some of that every year for one or two clubs. A lot of times it's stuff that can wait till the normal grant cycle, but we've done it in the past, yes.
And what about past practice for clubs that have missed a deadline? What have we done, or has it happened?
It usually varies, based on what the board what their decision is, based on the circumstances. I'm trying to remember if clubs have missed the equipment deadline before. I think we have, and the grants have been, I think they've been denied like this one, and I don't think the clubs have come back in front of the board to my recollection, but it's usually been for a newer piece of equipment or something, and they just run with the old that's not for capital repairs. I don't think we've ever had one for capital repairs, is my recollection.
Carmen?
Okay, so a couple of things. I first of all, I think that Washington County needs to remove themselves for a vote, because I just don't think that looks appropriate in the voting thing. That's just my opinion. Second of all, I mean, we do have deadlines for deadlines. And the thing is that we are now going into our third year of COVID. Is there anybody in that club that could have done the paperwork other than that one person?
Not really. Nobody else steps up to the plate anymore. We're very few, maybe 3 or 4 of us that actually step up to the plate and do the paperwork nowadays. And it's just set of the times, not too many people are getting involved. They just want to either come out and just help. If they do, nobody wants to get involved in doing all this paperwork and the running around and calling people to get the prices and everything. Like I said before, I've been doing this for a good number of years, and I've never come in front of this board. I've never been late on a grant. I've never asked for anything above or beyond. Matt can account for that all of my grants have always been right on the money, come in under, or the club sucks up the overage. This is a certain situation that's happened, and they said at first it was like 2 weeks out, but it was when I started contacting Matt trying to get it in, I was a week late. If that is a major issue here, I think it should be looked at and, seriously, because if we can't purchase these tracks this year and we don't groom, you lose your connection to Snowbees and Barry, you lose your connection to Washington Snowflyers, you lose your connection to Wamestown, you lose your connection over to Northfield. So it is, we're a major artery right in the central Vermont here, and it's very crucial that we can keep our machine going.
Yes, it is.
Roger, do you have any?
Yeah. Has the grievance process been followed properly at this point? Okay. So, I mean, I respect Matt and his decision, and I appreciate him making his decision the way that he did, and I would have done the same thing. Stuff happens. I would like to remind the club we do have deadlines, and the reason we get to this point is we'd like to enforce those deadlines. But it's a volunteer organization. Things happen. I don't feel that they were that late. They sounds like a reasonable excuse. And if we've got the money available, which it sounds like we do, without pulling from other clubs, I would like to make a motion that we move forward with granting them their request according to what Matt specifies the amount needs to be.
Rutland County would second that.
Carmen, you still got your hand up?
Well, my question is, and Matt, maybe you can just shed a little light on this for me. I mean, if they go down, I mean, can the surrounding clubs pick up grooming? I'm sorry, I'm very torn about this. Deadlines are deadlines, and I can sympathize with the club. I mean, if it was one of my clubs and they were denied, they'd be upset. But I mean, I respect Mac, and I respect his decisions, and I know that he does not make decisions lightly. So I'm trying to understand the whole process. And I mean, can their surrounding clubs pick up that grooming?
I
Or
think
no?
you'd have to reach out to those other clubs, but it seems just knowing the grooming patterns and the volunteers and stuff like that, I think that's an awful heavy ask
It
to
is.
have
There's
the
a motion
other
on the
clubs
floor.
do.
There is a motion on the floor, but it's open for discussion. So I think that's where you're at, is the discussion part, right, Jeff?
Yep, Jim?
Yeah, just so that you know that Matt, as far as I'm concerned, had no choice. He had to make the decision he made, period. So for me, you can't lay it on Matt. He was going by his guidelines, and that's where the board comes in and can do whatever they please with, and the result is the result. That's all.
Nobody's laying anything on Matt from our club. We're following the procedure that was put forth in front of us, which is we put our grant in late. Matt had to deny it because that's the process. And now we're here in front of the board to try to get that resolved. Nobody's putting anything on anybody.
I was more reminding the board that Matt had no choice.
Correct.
Pat?
I just wanted to agree with Jim. Matt's decision was by policy. He did exactly as he's expected to do. Had the club missed the deadline, and I'm stickler for deadline, by the way. Had they missed the deadline because somebody was on vacation, I'd feel one way. But because somebody was sick with this stupid damn COVID, I feel another way. So I'm in support of this.
Cindy?
I don't know. I don't want to add more to it, but I was just thinking that, gosh, if we're going to do this, one is that you could open the floodgates for this happening all the time. That's, just being devil's advocate. The other thing is maybe if you do decide to do this, that then there's a reduction of the grant amount if it's after a deadline, but then that opens up another deadline date. So I don't know. These are just thoughts that I'm thinking about. I mean, I feel that, Matt's very torn. He and I have talked about this. He absolutely would have given this club a grant. They need it. And, they're here telling you the truth. But a deadline's a deadline. So I don't know either. You guys have a tough job. I was just kind of trying to think out of the box of other solutions. That's all.
Stan?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of get the thought out there that there is an issue with supply chain with a lot of stuff. And I mean, one option certainly could be, and Matt said the precedent is there to supply an emergency grant during the season. But the risk of there not being a track available in, say, January or February, if they do lose it, and then that groomer goes down for an extended period of time because they can't find one, that is a lot of trail to be affected. And to ask, 4 or 5 other clubs to try to pick up the slack is a pretty big ask, as someone said. The other thing is this is a process that's in place, right? So that the board can make decisions on situations like this. And I agree that you could set a precedent and open the floodgate, but I think it is fair to say that the board can look at each scenario independently, and they can approve one and deny another one based on the circumstances. And it just seems like the circumstances here are pretty legit. I know COVID's been around for a long time, but when you actually fall ill and how ill you are, you may or may not be able to do much of anything. So just my thoughts.
Kurt?
Just a final thought, supply chain, like I had said before, and what Stan just said, is number one. And our number one problem that we have affecting every club in the state is volunteers. Okay, you've got Berry Club, which was a very strong and powerful club for many, many years. And as Steve said, they've got a handful of guys that are doing that work up there now. And you don't want to frustrate, some critical volunteers either with this process. And then Matt has done his job to, absolutely what he's supposed to do. But that's my 2 cents is we don't want to risk losing any volunteers either over this. But it's the whole, they break down in February, they may not have a track. So we got to look at it from that point, as far as I'm concerned.
Dave?
I was just clapping in agreement to Kurt.
You've got Jim and Julianne too.
Go ahead, Julianne.
I just have, I don't think it's just a couple comments. One, I think that the club has to increase communication. I totally get you were down sick, but one of your other guys or somebody should have reached out to somebody and at least made a phone call to Matt saying, hey, this guy's down, he's sick, we're going to be late. Increased communication is going to help the club. Two, I think this is an opportunity, whether the board denies or not, that there's communication between the clubs around you in your county that, to be sustainable, that's something that's got to be considered. And I'm only coming from a point of view because I've had clubs in my area that groomers have gone down and it was mid-season and nobody had the money, they couldn't get the equipment, so they had to communicate with other clubs to have somebody pick up the grooming. Understanding that 40 miles is a lot of miles, but I just think I hope that this is an opportunity to encourage the club to communicate better with them within themselves and within the county. That's all I have.
Jim?
Okay, the only question I have, obviously I don't vote anyway, so it doesn't matter, but the motion was to approve the grant. And I think for the record, maybe the motion should go beyond just approving the grant if it was to go and have a reason why the board would be making that motion and approving it. I think the motion should be a little clearer or more detailed.
I don't know what else you need for detail. I'm making a motion to approve the grant based on the discussion we had. We don't normally put paragraph long worth discussion into our motions. So the only detail I don't have is the actual cost of what it's going to be. And I'm just leaving that up to Matt to make that decision as if they were coming in at the right time. I will entertain an amendment if you have an idea, Jim.
Are you looking for the cause for the motion, Jim, based on the fact that we have somebody who's stricken with COVID?
That's what I was thinking, that someone that comes down the road and says, well, you approved theirs, why did we approve it? Just a little bit more into the motion might be helpful.
It's a tough one.
But it's totally up to you guys.
Yeah, I feel like there in the minutes, there should be notes about the conversation we had regarding the reason. I don't know if it necessarily needs to be in the motion.
No, it needs to be in the motion because minutes are really just to capture motions. That's all minutes have to be. And so the discussion, I would suggest that you do say something like I'm making a motion that this club, even though they were 2 weeks late, but due to illness because of the COVID pandemic,
And due
was the
to the
reason.
fact they've got 4 people that are doing the work. Maybe.
Something like that. If you're going to make it, it doesn't have to be a paragraph long, but just a sentence of the reason would be helpful for the records. Because like Jim said, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, when half of us are gone from this board, if somebody looks back and says, well, those guys got it.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion then. Somebody else can make a new motion. That's fine. I don't feel like, honestly, I'm not here to blame the decision on COVID. I'm over the COVID excuses. The club followed the grievance policy. They came to us, they gave us our excuse. We made a motion, we made a decision. So I'll withdraw my motion.
If you're gonna withdraw, seconder has to agree. Rutland,
I guess I'll agree.
you can make another motion.
You can, yeah, need to withdraw your second.
You just, the seconder has to agree to the withdrawal of the motion.
I'll agree to the withdrawal.
Do we have another motion that someone would like to put forward?
Chittenden County would move that we approve the grant based on the member illness that impacted the delay in the scheduled submission of the application.
Rutland County will second that.
Okay, I think we've had plenty of discussion. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 All right, we're almost gonna have to do a roll call on this, I think.
Are there any nays? I didn't hear.
Are there any nays? Yeah, I was just thinking that process through. Any nays?
Yes, nay.
I have one
So
nay.
that's Franklin County, Mandy.
Yep. Any other nays? And Washington abstained?
Yep, I haven't voted, so.
Okay. So I would say that motion is approved. And
Can I just make a comment moving forward? I don't know, I've been a part of a lot of organizations, and I don't know of any organization that writes their minutes with just motions and votes. And maybe I'm just old school or something, but I think it's important that the secretary puts, discussion ensued about the reasons. And I mean, that's just me, and that's the way I'd like to see it, but I'm just one of 14.
And I agree.
Roger,
No, what I'm saying is legally, you only have to have the motions. So if they looked back legally, that's what you could go by. I'm not saying that we shouldn't put the discussion in. I just said that legally, that's how minutes
I think
work.
that's per Robert's rules. I'm the secretary for Windsor County, and technically you only have to capture the motions and the votes. I mean, everybody adds more to it, but technically that's all you do have to capture.
Thank you, Patty.
So Matt put the amount in the chat of $8,263.08.
I think that the lesson here is to get your paperwork in. Even if you don't have all the details, the importance is just get the stuff in by the deadline, even if you need signatures or anything. And that would bypass this whole process.
Yes.
Or at least
Yeah,
communicate.
this is
No, well, he did. They did communicate. They did communicate that they were going to be late. But the thing is that, you just have to have the paperwork in by the due date. That's how this board has always felt. And so that's just the thing to tell your clubs is, and Matt tells clubs that all the time. He gets a lot of grants that aren't completely filled out by due dates. But as long as they're in, then the other stuff can follow.
Yeah,
you can
this
just
is
take your
Doug
waiver
Jacob
for
from Windsor
employees.
County. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, Doug.
Go ahead, Doug.
I just have one comment I'd like to make for everybody. I know a lot of you directors have been around here a long time, but there's a lot of us that are pretty new. And I personally don't feel like there's any precedent setting in any way, shape, or form here. Everything that we do and every decision we make should be made on the conditions and the rules and all the circumstances around that decision or that motion. That's just how I feel. I don't feel that something happened 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years ago to some other club has anything to do with this club. Everything is an individual issue, and that's just how I feel about that. I don't know how everybody else feels. That's how I feel.
Okay. 9B, September 2021 Board of Director minutes need to be approved. That would have been the meeting after the annual meeting in Waterbury.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Steve.
In regards to that, I got one page.
That's all it was. It's the
Okay.
little board meeting that happens after the annual meeting. Remember, we had some staffing issues and stuff. We had Katie Ann for a while and then she left. And anyway, so the minutes were done, but consequently, we forgot about getting them approved. That's all.
Gotcha.
Lamoille County will make a motion to approve the September 11th, 2021 meeting minutes.
Benton County seconds.
Thank you, Pat. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Item C, budget review and vote. Cindy.
I don't have anything. I gave it to you last month. And I've updated the end of the year projections. But other than that, if anyone has any questions or wants me to run through anything, the budget pretty much is what I gave you last month. There are a couple little minor things, but nothing that you need me to go through. It is what it is. And but I'm happy to answer any questions. Roger, is your hand up for this or was it just from, okay.
I just got a few different lines. I had some questions on. I don't know if I can just fire them at you and then you just go from
Fire
there.
away. Yep.
So just in general, I see you went up on the budget based on or with your TMA income. You changed the numbers, obviously. And what did you get the numbers from?
So this year's budget was built on last year's actuals. Before that, I've been building the budget based on 2018 because that was kind of sorry, I've got like a fruit fly flying around me. So if you see me and stuff, so it was based on 2018. But because last season and the season before were very similar, shorter seasons, I thought, well, maybe that's the way we're trending. So I basically built this year's budget as far as income goes on TMAs based on last year's actuals.
Okay. Line 7300 /1005 office equipment and computers. Did that entire increase was from just the firewall?
The firewall and we got a couple of new computers this year that we had to get. So that's why I've reduced it for next year back down to 600, but that's why it's so high. But it's the firewall. The firewall is the majority of that.
Okay. 7400 /1002 postage has gone down quite a bit.
Yeah. It's because we built a new line item for TMAs because we're sending TMAs differently now. So I took it out of the general supply and there's a new one for TMA mailings.
Down about two
rows below it. Yeah. 7400 1003A.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I see that there. I just I read your note here. There's no line number, but it's a Snowmobile Vermont printing and handling has gone down. And just because we reduced the issues, is that why?
Yes. We're trying to continue to make it pay for itself, but because advertisers, it's just so hard. And then the cost of the paper and all of that has gone up. By reducing it to 3 issues, it'll continue to pay for itself. And 3 issues and the Traveler's Guide. So winter, like early winter, late winter. So the club stuff would still be in the late winter. Like they usually are.
So there's nothing, the Traveler's Guide's coming out in the fall. Okay, so at least we'll have something there to get people fired up and thinking about snowmobiling.
Yeah, well, we're still in this fiscal year, so our summer magazine will actually be coming out in a few weeks. So, and then the board, I mean, we can decide later on, if advertisers, if our businesses are getting better and it can pay for itself to add another edition.
Okay. Again, it's not numbered the line, but it says all other BOD, comm and meetings. I'm guessing that's because we're not traveling for these meetings. It's gone down by 3,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we're
that was
still-
our actual cost was 113.83.
Well, so far, but we're still gonna be using, like the board retreat will come out of that. So the
Okay.
lodging and everything for the board retreat will actually come out of that line item. So that's why I'm projecting it's gonna be higher than the $100 it's at right now.
Okay. And can we use some of that savings to develop a little bit better little IT for in-person / or hybrid meetings, whether it's a camera that rotates around the table or whatever, or something like that? Is there planning for that?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into the OWL system. Have you seen the OWL?
Yeah, it works good.
Yeah. So I know I've been at meetings where they've had the OWL and it's not very expensive. So yes, right now our camera does pan, but it's not good. Not as good as an OWL system. And OWLs aren't that expensive. We're talking $1,000, $1,500 or something like that.
Okay. Trail maps, 8,300/2007. That's gone down because we're doing biannual ordering. Is that why?
Correct. We're on and off year. Yep.
Okay. Is it better to split that up in just every year, budget half of it? Or do you think that works better on and off? Doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter because of the way that we're on a cash basis and everything. You're better off just spending it when the invoices come in. We could put money in like a reserve fund or something, like we'd have to still take it out of the other, you know what I mean? And then so.
Okay. I think that was it. The only other one was line 8,300/2011 grooming has gone up. And is that because of the increase in that's been possibly proposed, and that's going to capture that?
Yeah, you kind of froze on me there.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Can you hear
it's
me
okay.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Just repeat your question, please. Oh, you're freezing again.
We can't hear you.
All right.
Turn your
so
audio, your video off.
Yeah,
and see
I've
if
got
that helps.
subpar internet here. So the grooming line item
Yep.
has gone up a couple 100,000. That obviously is there to capture the increase in dollars per mile to the clubs for grooming that may be proposed?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that and also an increase of percentage of what's in the budget for CAP.
Okay, so the new proposals that are being thrown around, this would cover that if they move forward.
Correct.
Okay, with no TMA increase.
That's correct. There's there's an income line that you see in the trails budget of 100 and something thousand that would come out of reserves to cover that instead of a TMA increase. And then you guys will decide in the spring, depending on how the season went, if you need that money to put into grooming, it's there from the reserve account. And then next year, if there's a good season and you decide to do an increase for that 100,000 instead of taking it out of reserves every year.
Okay.
You guys will decide that next spring.
Okay. And nothing changed from the reserve accounts from the last meeting that I'm seeing.
Just little bits here and there, some moving of the like RRG. We needed a little bit more money from the RRG or for the RRG to cover the club's insurance. But you guys, I mean, that again, you guys will vote on that at the September board meeting after the annual meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. I guess the only other thing that I would mention is when we do have the meeting after the annual meeting, we really got to try to focus on getting to a quiet place. And it feels like in the past, it's always been rushed and it's like, here are the numbers, we need to vote on it now. And I think for especially some new directors, it's nice to have it as quiet and secluded as much as possible.
Yeah.
But it looks good to me.
I know you brought that to attention. You brought that to my attention last year. but after the annual meeting or after the annual meeting. So I think that that's a really good idea to just go and sit down in a quiet place where staff isn't breaking down everything and, whatever. So we'll try to figure out a location there that we can all meet, even if it's like around pickup trucks and, as long as it's quiet.
Yep, thank you. It looks good, I think anyway.
Thank you. Carmen's got her hand up, Jeff.
Go ahead, Carmen.
Sorry, Cindy, I know you answered most of my questions earlier, but I was just, as Roger was going through, what are the membership forms? It's line item, so I'm gonna say it's page 4.
It's all the,
line item.
I know what it is. It's the TMA forms. It's the TMA forms and stickers and envelopes and all that stuff.
Oh, that get mailed out. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's
Silly me.
okay. Nope, good
I was thinking
question.
detail. I'm good, Jeff, thanks.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget for fiscal 2023.
So moved, Orleans.
In seconds.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye, please.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
Jeff, I think you have to ask for any opposed.
No, I don't think so. I didn't hear any. Any opposed? See, I didn't think so.
That's good.
Well, thank you, Pat. Yes. Bylaw updates. Mark. Oh, Mark.
Notice
I'm
I
here.
didn't put my name down on that one.
No,
Oh,
I'm here,
Mark.
Cindy. No,
There he is.
I don't have the electronic version. If you want to share your screen and bring up that.
Yeah, all right, let me find it.
Because I can go, but it'll be easy for people to track along if it's up on the screen. So Cindy and I met, we went through nothing major to change. Issue is just some to match some statutory language and stuff, and we'll go through it piece by piece here as soon as she gets it up on the screen. I'm sorry, Cindy, I should have let you know ahead of time.
I just looking for it.
And maybe it won't be up on the screen. I am turning off my camera because I'm on the other side of the room and the camera doesn't pick me up.
Oh, sure.
Well, I had to operate the computer.
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Rest.
All right, well, while Cindy's looking at it, I'll start walking people through it. First change is section 3 of Article 1. We've updated the language in section 3 to say all terrain vehicle converted to operate with tracks shall not be considered a snowmobile. And that is just a minor modification made to match the actual statutory language. Next change would be down in section 4, part A. We changed it to say club hereinafter shall mean a Vermont Snowmobile Club officially affiliated with a county snowmobile club, not the county snowmobile club. And that change was made to cover clubs there's a few clubs around the state who aren't actually affiliated with county clubs, their own county. And that's generally due to geographical things. The one example is the Rochester Snowmobile Club, which I believe is Windsor County, is actually a member of the Washington County County Club. because of logistics and other things. The same happened when we used to have a Bolton Valley Club. They weren't a member of Chittenden, they were a member of Washington. Next change would be section 5, where we changed audit to review. And we did that throughout section 5. And this was actually a change made to match the actual process performed and audit. Cindy, how do you explain that? The audit has.
So legally, an audit is a very strict, it's like what VAST goes through. So an audit is not just a review of your finances, but actually how your organization is run. What we're doing, even though we call it an audit, it's not, and legally it's called a review. So anyway, so we're just changing that to reflect what we truly are doing with clubs through our CPA.
Right, and that change was made throughout section 5. So you'll see several of those. Next up would be Article 3. And in section 1, talking about TMAs, it said every snowmobile operating on the SSTS shall have a valid TMA as required by Vermont law. TMA shall be available. And we removed the local VAST affiliated snowmobile club and changed it to the VAST website to reflect current process. And that change was made a couple of more times down through section 1 of Article 3.
Just a note on that.
Just an editorial. It should probably say on the web or on the VAST website. I think you're just missing the word on.
Or use the word through, one or the other.
Or through, yeah, something, because it says TMA shall be available the VAST website.
Okay, yep. Thank you for picking that up. I just had to write that down. So next change up. Where are we here? Still Article 3, Section 2. We changed under the complementary TMA to say that TMAs may be issued to visitors to facilitate their stay in Vermont or for promotional or charitable purposes. This it allows the board to offer TMAs exactly as it said, promotional and charitable. That wasn't specifically spelled out, and we wanted to make sure that was done. Next up, Article 4, Section 1. Individual membership shall be open to any club affiliated individual upon receipt of their dues. We just added TMA, and purchase was spelled wrong, but we just added TMA purchase to clarify what receipt of their dues meant. Next up in section or paragraph D, it previously required the board to establish contributing membership prices annually. We removed annually because I don't think the board has actually done this. And it means that it still has to be set by the board of directors. And when someone comes to us and asks for a contributing membership, we can set that, but it doesn't mean, it means that we don't have to take a specific vote every year. Paragraph E, dealer membership. Again, remove the established annually part, or took the annually part out. And also remove the TMA shall be purchased at the VAST office only to reflect current process for the dealer memberships.
What is the current process for dealer memberships?
They're online.
There's a dealer tab that they can go to and.
Yes.
Okay. And same thing with commercial?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm looking through and we have a couple of more.
Article 8, Section 1.
Yep, Article 8, Section 1. We changed in conjunction with we added in conjunction with the VAST executive director, and that was added to reflect the description of the process in Article 7, Section 2. And we removed the referral to the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail because we do not have that as a responsibility anymore.
Correct.
And that's it. Again, minor
What was,
Go ahead.
what's the, when you added that in conjunction with the VAST executive director, where did that come from? What's that about?
It comes from the description of the president.
Yes.
In the description of the president, it said it was changed a few years ago. So we're just reflecting that also that change here.
Okay.
Yeah, Article 7, Section 2. So duties of the president are to serve as chairman of the board of directors, preside at meetings of the board, be an ex officio member of all committees except nominating. And then the president in conjunction with the VAST executive director. So we just matched that language up. And that's it.
There's nothing in the bylaws about the requirement of liability insurance. That's just covered by state statute.
Yes.
Okay.
How long has the language about the ATV with tracks been in the state statutes? I don't ever remember seeing that.
It was changed in 2016, I believe. I was looking at that statute, and it was the only section that was left out of our bylaws. Well, there's a whole another section below it that it refers to, and none of that has changed, but it was just too long to add to the bylaws. It would have added 2 more pages to our bylaws, but I think it was 2016, Roger.
Yeah, I just,
when we have track and a ski.
Yeah, track and a ski.
when we were kind of talking about including them way back in the day, that was one of our hurdles, was the state statute, and that just made it a little bit harder. But either way, it needs to be a statute change, so I guess it doesn't matter what it says.
That's all. We just added it because it was in statute.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the bylaw updates.
Rutland County would make a motion to approve all said updates.
And a second.
Washington County will approve.
Thank you, Jeff. Any further discussion or questions? Just holler if you've got your hand up, because I probably can't see you. Hearing no one yelling, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Thank you. Club review program status, Cindy and Patty.
Well, Patty didn't know this was going to be on the agenda. No, I just wanted to update you because we have to pick clubs for this year. So we picked 8 clubs last year, and only 3 have gone through either gone through or in the audit process. So I have sent letters to all those clubs that have given them a September 30th deadline to get started. Otherwise, this board might decide to hold funding. And I will email directors and let you know if you have what the club name is and if you have any in your county. But that's the update. You know, Patty put together a very thoughtful and articulate presentation that we've shared with you guys a few months ago, a PowerPoint for clubs to use. And we actually last year had a meeting with a lot of these clubs going through the PowerPoint and the process. So I asked Patty to join me last year and helping me do this with clubs, and she's been great. And so I just wanted to give you an update on, you know, where we're at, and we'll do the same thing with the 4 clubs that we picked in the next agenda item. Patty and I will get in touch with them. We'll set up 2 Zoom meetings to go through the PowerPoint and walk them through the process.
Cindy, is the delay in the clubs getting the information to the accountant, or is it the delay the accountant getting to the club's information?
No, it's the delay in the clubs getting to the accountant. to the CPA.
I saw the email, Cindy.
Okay.
So, and again, just so you guys know, we didn't pick these, we picked those 8 clubs in October. So it hasn't been a full year that they have not responded. It's just been since last fall. So that's why I wanted to get on top of it now, give them a couple of months to, get their, together and get this process started before Patty and I bring it to you guys to say, what do you want to do about these guys who aren't responding?
Okay, thank you. And moving on, we get to choose 4 more to join the party.
Wait, Jeff, can I ask a quick question? Sorry,
Of course
I
you
was
can,
trying to
Carmen.
unmute myself. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I just might be. I thought that there was a kind of a process already that if clubs weren't complying with the process of all of it, that we were withholding funding or am I incorrect in that? That information's documented somewhere?
Yeah, it's in policy.
Okay.
It's in policy that they have to have it to us. Originally, Carmen, when we put it in policy, we put like a deadline date, but it was too strict. And so we opened up that deadline date, but it's just, but it is in policy that they do have to get it done.
It's also in the PowerPoint we review with those clubs when they are selected.
That PowerPoint hasn't changed, right, Patty? Because I know
No.
that you sent it to me and I sent it to all the clubs in my county. So
yeah, the only thing we'll add to it will be like there's any additional type of readouts that come that, for clubs to be aware of, that they're looking at.
Okay, great, thank you.
So 202, 118. I'm getting ready for the next thing, Jeff.
Yep. I'm not gonna rush you. I know better.
No. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Get back here, share screen. Okay, so here's our list. And I have an app on my phone, a randomizer that I will show you guys. So I put 1 through 118. If it comes up with a club that's already been chosen, then we'll choose again. Okay, everybody clear? And I'll show you my screen, my randomizers as we pick it. So let's see, let me make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, so there's the first one. It's 21 and
Green Mountain Snowfleas.
yep. So 2022. Green Mountain Snowfleas. Okay. And we're going to do it again. And what do we come up with? 47. So 47 is
Hardwick. Ridge Runners.
No,
oh no, we don't have a
we don't have
47.
a 47.
I must have deleted, must have been an old club. There were old clubs that were in here. Remember, I deleted them out. Okay, so let me just do it again. 45, they've already been done. What's that? 36?
36.
Yep.
East.
Fletcher, Rough Riders.
No, east. Not
I'm
this
looking, I'm
number.
looking at different
here.
lines.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah. So that's east. Okay, next one is 25. These are all low numbers. Coles Pond. And we have one more. That one is, what does it say? 43. 43 is Glover. All right, so we have Snowfleas, East, Glover, and what was the other one?
Coles Pond.
Coles Pond.
Yes.
Okay, there's the 4.
Now, that's got an asterisk next to it. We don't need to vote on any of this, do we?
No,
No, now these clubs have been selected, and what is their time frame for said audit?
yeah, so what will happen is that they will be sent letters,
Yep.
and letter will describe the process, and it will also give them 2 dates to show up at a Zoom meeting that Patty and I will set up. And then we give them a few months, to get in, because a lot of times, you got vacations and weddings and all other kind of stuff happening. So we give them a few months to respond to Bonnie and get everything into her. And then, like, let's say 6 months, if they haven't done anything, then they're going to get another letter that says, you guys haven't done anything. And now you've got 2 months to start to get your stuff there. So there's not a deadline for the completion, but there's a deadline to get started.
To get the process started.
Yeah, because some
Yeah.
clubs are great. I mean, they have everything, and they'll send everything right over. And others, they're, not a mess, but they need a lot of help. And
Correct.
we're not here to slap their hands. We want to just walk them through it, make sure they're doing everything right and getting their stuff done.
Yes, you as well as I and Matt know what the challenge is with East. So
Yeah, I know.
we'll see what happens over there. And I hate to throw this at them because we may just have a checkbook shipped to us and say good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I cringed when that one came.
I know.
But that's what the process is for. Sorry, Jim.
Understood.
Don't we need a motion on this? We did have motion before when we suspended it. And I think to make this legal, that they need to have a motion that these are the 4 clubs. I'm just trying to recollect.
Yeah, I think we did. You did make a motion when you suspended it. That was in 2019 because of COVID, but we did it in October. So I don't know if there was a motion made in October when we picked the 8 clubs, because we picked 8 because we hadn't done the 4 the year before because of COVID. I'm fine with the motion. I'm all about motions. If you guys want to make one, just cover.
So Rutland County would make a motion to accept the picks by the randomizer for the said 4 clubs, the Cavendish Snow Fleas, East, Cold Pond Slutters, and the Glover Club for their 2022 audit, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was green.
We need to call it a review because I thought we just got done saying that like audit is a whole different kind of process.
Yeah,
so should we change that word to review?
Change that to review then.
You could say CPA review, right? It's done by the CPA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mandy, are you good with that motion?
I didn't catch who was the second for that motion.
I don't think anyone
It
seconded
hasn't
it
been
yet.
a second yet.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Caddy will second it. Sorry, I'll do it.
Okay. Mandy, do you need them to repeat the motion? Mike Keller has his hand up. Jeff.
Michael.
Mine can be after. It's related to this, but it's after this process.
Well, bring it on.
Okay. I guess what I was getting at is like as a in my club, so we don't fear this process, but we know it's coming. So I went through my first federal audit last year. So part of that was like audit prep in the sense of like, hey, when you get your audit, this is what you need to look for. So I didn't know if you guys had that essentially like, hey, if you get picked next year, here's the things you can be building for your audit or review prep so that when the time comes, it's just like, here you go versus us trying to go back and mine that data.
Mike, if I could, Cindy, where are you?
Go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, in the PowerPoint presentation that we cover with the clubs, we do outline the stuff that the CPA is looking at, so you can prepare. And if you need it resent, I'll be updating it with these clubs' names being on the audit list or the review list. But in there it talks about exactly what the things that they found with other clubs, and so you know what stuff they are looking at.
Okay, perfect.
And I think what we'll do too is once the PowerPoint, we'll put it up on the VAST website.
We could do that.
Under in the club section.
Under club reviews.
Yeah, because we have an old compliance manual up there that talks a lot about like key items and financial grants and monies and reviews, and I mean, there's a whole thing up there already, but I think Patty's PowerPoint, it would be good to put that up there too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because then we could bring it back and instead of
Mhm.
we essentially build the audit. So when the time comes, it's not an issue.
It's
Yeah.
simple for everybody.
Yeah.
I think if you've been through the federal audit, Mike, you should be all set.
Well, at different standards, but yeah, that's what makes me cringe.
Well, and the other thing too is reminder that we are putting together a system right now where we're checking state and federal websites to make sure clubs are compliant or when their due dates are, and we're going to be automatically generating letters to send to clubs. The problem is that the federal website is so behind, it doesn't even have us listed as being compliant at VAST. And it's because they haven't, it's not because we're not, it's because they haven't updated their website. So we ended up, Mandy and Beth and I have been working on this and found out that like, we've got like 40 clubs that aren't compliant as far as the federal website goes, but it's not true because they haven't updated it since 2019 on some of the clubs, including VAST itself. So we're not ready, prepared to send these letters out because we think that there are actually a lot more clubs that are compliant. But we are working on a system so that when clubs change like treasurers and things like that, that we'll be able to generate these letters to remind clubs that, oh, this due date's coming up. Don't forget to go onto the Vermont Secretary of State's website or the federal website and do what you need to do to file. Julianne's got her hand up.
Go ahead, Julianne.
Just a quick question. When you say VAST isn't showing registered, is it on DUNS or is it on the new system with SAM.gov? Because there is a new system now. They're not with Vermont, the state of Vermont. The numbers they were looking for is the unique identifier, which is new through SAMS.gov.
I don't know. It's a federal website that we're looking at. So I don't know. It doesn't tie into the state website. It's the federal like 990.
For just income tax purposes, not grant identification numbers like your Bradstreet. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
That's all. I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Okay, moving right along. Trails Administrator, ED report. Any changes, updates, additions that you'd like to cover?
I don't think you took the vote on the last one.
Did we? Oh, that's right. Thank you, Jim. All those in favor of did we actually get a second?
Yeah, Carmen, Lamoille County.
Okay, thank you. Glad I got a secretary here to keep me straight. All those in favor of the motion to accept those 4 clubs for review, say aye.
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 Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Now moving right along. Trails Administrator, ED report and LVRT report. Any additions, changes, breaking news? Okay. Any questions for either Cindy or Matt? Okay.
Actually, can I have a question? Wait, I have a question.
Wait.
I'm not even.
Wait. Okay. Go ahead, Carmen.
Cindy, this is for you. Sheila sent out to the clubs. It's a form to allow VAST to remove money from accounts for like if they purchase signs or whatever. It's a really quick question. So do we have to sign off on that every time, or is that just a one-time kind of shot that we sign that form? And
no, so what happens is you sign the form and that gives us the legal ability to, but she will never take money out without approval. So she'll send the club an email and say, here's your sign invoice. Would you like me to take this directly out of your account? So the form is just for the process. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Any other questions before we move into committee reports? Northeast Chapter and USA. Pat?
Well, Northeast Chapter is pretty quiet, isn't it, Jeff?
Yes, they are.
USA did meet again last month, and they're working on putting a summit meeting together on what they're now referring to as trespass, not off-trail riding, so that they can get better defined on it. So more to come on that. I don't know when or where it's going to be, but nationwide, it's an issue. It is for us. It is for everybody. So we're going to continue to see what we can do to come up with some solutions.
Okay, thank you. Law enforcement, Cindy?
Nothing.
Okay.
You missed Snow Trails Conservancy.
Oh,
But- Yeah, it's because there's the
that's because
bullet's
it's
missing.
flooded over. Yep. Okay. Snow Trails Conservancy, Jim?
Yes, we've got a possible easement in Proctor that we may be looking at soon. That's it.
Okay. We said nothing on law enforcement, LVRT, nothing, awards and nominating.
Yeah, working on the speeches for the presentations for the annual meeting, and the committee report was submitted for the vast annual report.
Okay. Bylaws and policy, anything other than what we already covered, Mark?
That's it.
Annual meeting, any updates? Can't see if John's on or not.
He's not, and I haven't heard of any updates.
Okay. Let's see, nothing from the executive committee, financial, Patty, we covered you, right?
But just that the committee report submitted the vast, we submitted the committee reports for the vast annual report.
Okay.
So that was done as well.
Long range planning, Mark?
So we got our license from the state for AORG. We're in the process of having our attorney review our policy. Is that what we call it, Cindy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should be ready to go for September 1st. We signed the letter of credit with Northfield Savings Bank last week. And that's where we are. Anything else you want to plug in with that, Cindy?
No.
Right.
Great news. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. And, I guess officially long range planning isn't running the upcoming retreat, but I do expect a portion of the day to be spent sort of doing some forward looking stuff, seeing what's next on the horizon we should be looking at. That's it, Jeff.
Okay. On the RRG, what's our time frame for actually transferring the money to the CD?
It's already being done.
It's already being
Last
done.
week.
Okay.
Yeah, we signed all the paperwork and stuff late last week.
Okay. Thank
You know,
you.
it's funny when you do a big transaction like that, they'll actually come to your office, come to where you are to.
Yeah.
Jeff, Roger's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Roger. Sorry.
Last time for the retreat, we did our board meeting at the end of the retreat to save us a day. Is there any consideration for that, or is it not going to work out? The last day of the retreat, we did our board meeting, and it just saved us from having
Another meeting.
Yeah. I mean, if it can't work, it can't work.
No, I think that's a really good idea. I don't expect to have a lot on the agenda for that meeting for you guys. So, because a lot of the bulk of it we've done now, because we have to warn for the annual meeting and it will be past that. So, or right before that, but
it's just 2 weeks away. So
it's totally up to you guys.
I think.
I don't think.
Go ahead, Cindy. Sorry.
I don't think it's a bad idea, because the annual meeting's September 11th, and that's when your September 10th, and that's when your board meeting's going to be for September. So it maybe just a brief, board meeting in case there's anything that you guys that we have on, that we need you to vote on or whatever.
It makes great sense.
Yeah. Jeff, are you good with that as president?
I'm good with that.
Okay, I'll put together an agenda. If anyone has anything that they want on the agenda for the August board meeting, which will now be, oh, do we have enough time to warn that? Jim, what's our time for warning? 2 weeks? You're on mute and I don't remember without looking at the bylaws.
I'd have to go back, but I think it's only a week.
Only a week, okay. So yeah, we should be good to go. Let's just make sure it gets warned then.
I mean, if logistically it doesn't work or we need to time things differently, that's fine. I just figured I'd throw it out there because one less meeting is not a bad thing for me anyway.
Are we gonna have the option to do Zoom as well? Or are we figuring everybody's gonna be?
No, I think it's whoever's gonna be there. Most of the board members are gonna be there. It would be Sunday morning. So it would be before you guys all depart, so.
But we could also do Zoom easy enough anyway, right?
Yeah, you'll have a quorum.
But if it's going to be an open meeting, it has to, public needs to be able to, members should be able to have access. I would assume anyways.
Well, I mean, it never did in the past, but it wouldn't be that hard to set up a webcam and stream it if we needed to.
Right.
Shouldn't be anything different than what we're doing now, really. Other than there'll be live bodies around the table.
It says 2 weeks. Notices shall be sent 2 weeks prior.
So we got 2 weeks.
Well, there you go.
So was that 2 weeks from yesterday?
Yeah, 2 weeks would have been yesterday.
Moving on.
All right. Resource Committee. I don't know that you guys are really active, are you?
All right. Nope, no, nothing to report there.
I just kind of put you on pause for a while.
Yep.
We're gonna keep you around, but we're just putting you on pause for a little bit. Personnel, Julianne.
I have not completed the Cindy's evaluation. I was hoping to get more feedback than I did. But I will get that done and get that out to the committee and for them to look at, and then I'll reach out to Cindy and get that done because I know she wants it done.
Oh yeah, I love it. I can't wait. So excited.
Can you tell me how many responses you've had, Julianne?
I can send you an email, but it's less than half.
Okay. So this is your opportunity, people, to let Cindy know how well the job she's doing and if there's any issues that need to be addressed. So I would encourage you to respond to Julianne's emails. Trails.
Hey, Jeff,
Hey,
can I say
Carmen.
something?
Sure.
You know, Julian made a comment earlier, you know, about like deadlines and communication when we were discussing the Thunder Chickens. And I have to say that, you know, I kind of stopped what I was doing to make sure that I could, you know, type the report up and get it into her by the deadline to respect that. So just turn around and to see an email go out after that it was being extended, kind of, I can honestly say, kind of pissed me off a little bit, you know?
Well, I'm sorry about that, but I did not get enough response. So it was either push it out, hoping to get more, or go it on just like 2 people. And I didn't feel like that was fair to Cindy. So I apologize that you were inconvenienced and you were angered by that, but it wasn't, my intention was to really get all of the information from most people and give her a good
a fair review.
get a lot of input from more people, and I understand people did drop things to get it to me, and I really, really appreciate the people that did that. And I know that it's a really busy time of year. Trust me, I know. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I was just hoping that we would have more feedback from more people from the board to give a good, solid.
And Julianne, I understand why you like why you did it. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, you know, deadlines are deadlines. I have deadlines at work. I can't just say, oh, hey, you know, like I've got an insurance audit, you know, this week. I can't just say to them, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Like I've got too much on my plate. I'll have to push it out. Like deadlines are deadlines, and we're all adults, and I get we're all busy, but I just kind of felt like for me, that was, you know, it was a little frustrating for me by all means, you know, like you put it out there, everybody knew. So I'm just saying, you made the comment earlier regarding the thunder chickens, and I think that applies here as well. That's all I'm saying. I get why you did it. I understand, but it's just a statement. That's all. It's just to say, hey, I tried to honor the system. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That was all. Sorry.
No, you're fine, Carmen. Thank you. Point well made, though. If we as directors don't honor deadlines, I guess we shouldn't be holding clubs to deadlines either. So that's something that I think collectively we need to work on as a board. Trails, I know Brian said he couldn't make it. Matt had a report in his stuff, I think. We're still working on the proposal for the grooming contracts. Ken provided some information last week that made some small changes. I haven't sat down to actually go over it yet completely. That's on my game plan for one of the nights this week. So we will discuss that whole process at the retreat in a couple of weeks. Safety, Stan?
Yeah, we didn't meet this month. It wasn't scheduled for this month. We were take a little vacation. We will meet in August. I forget the date. And I sent in my report for the annual meeting booklet.
Okay, thank you. And Governor's Council's off, correct, Pat?
That is correct, but I did send in the report for the annual meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments before we go on our merry way this evening?
Thanks for all you do.
I will entertain a motion.
Rutland County will make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Good to see everybody.
Thank you all.
Rutland and Chittenden at 7:41.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Have a good evening.
Safe trip home, everybody.